heart attack, fast fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and packs. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're just freaked out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty, hello everybody. This is Kiru's show here, and now, let us begin. Whenever we last left off, we had Izuku Midoriya, who he has confronted the girls, all the ones that have been competing to basically see who loves him the most, if that's really what you can call it. Now, this little rivalry came to a head whenever Midoriya basically revealed to them the truth. That he has the power from a fountain of youth given to him by a magical fairy in a forest somewhere out by the Himalaya mountains. Or Himalayan, my bad. And that their classmate that they've known for a long time, or at least their friend, Deanne, who is not competing in this competition of love, is actually not even human. She's a magical doll that doesn't have to be puppeteered on a string. Yeah. They thought it was bullshit until they heard everything, and basically saw what Deanne had to show them. Now, with that being said, let us begin. All of the class students have all lined up, and Mr. Aizawa does actually have to state that will the highest scoring student from the entrance exam please get up on stage and give a bit of a speech. To which there's a bit of a pause, and Midoriya does actually somewhat look around. Oh right, that's him. Before just walking up. Now, this is whenever you actually have President Mike, who goes on stating, "Wowee! Look at this! Our very own Class 1A Izuku Midoriya, otherwise known as the movie star." Wow. Mr. Aizawa, any comments on this student? Well, to be honest, he's nothing quite like what you'd expect from him. In fact, this boy's far more intelligent than even I expected. Whenever I first met him, he immediately knew who I was. Then there's the fact that with his power and his abilities, he's able to put himself through more and more intense physical trauma than any person he's ever seen, including certain pro heroes. Now, President Mike doesn't understand what Mr. Aizawa is saying. Mr. Aizawa just turning to him and saying that the young man actually did help with his injuries. Him and Recovery Girl were able to actually help him quite a bit. Then, there's what the boy can do on his own. During the attack on the USJ, he was able to help prevent a creature, just if not as strong of or stronger than All Might, stay away from UA students. He was able to keep it not only at bay, but actually overpower the beast. What? Wait. If I'm certain this boy only has 2 quirks, yes? That is correct. But Mike, this boy has made use of his abilities far greater than anyone I've ever seen. And it's not just that. If he'd have to say something, he wants to say that he might be the winner of the tournament this year. Now, everyone who did hear that statement just looks at Midoriya on stage, as he finally just talks up. Are you done? What was that? Are you done with your questions, President Mike? Or can I start talking now? Wow. This kid's straight to the point. Another reason why he's one of our star students. Anyways. Now, Midoriya picking up the microphone, going on to say as he walks across stage that, hello everyone. I'm guessing introductions aren't in order. Hell, I'm guessing the amount of people here who don't know who I am is actually less than the amount of people who do. So he's going to skip the formalities. After what happened at the USJ, this festival is going to be their time to shine. Now, Midoriya looking directly into the crowd of other students, going on to say, but everyone thinks that that's just for people with specialized powers, or defensive and offensive abilities, right? In fact, as he points towards the back of the row, or the back of the line of students, saying that he knows quite a lot of the people in the general studies classes, and if he's guessing he's right, also the business course. Hell, all of you guys tried out for UA, and you may not have been or gotten to my class, but a good amount of you did. So, if I have to say something, it's this. To anyone who tries to target me, and I know most of you will, Midoriya smirking, and actually, at least turning back to everyone, pointing out that he will crush them underneath his shoes, and that anyone who gets in his way will not be spared, before simply just tossing the microphone down on the ground and walking off. As he gets back into place, you do actually have Bakugo, who actually does somewhat burst out laughing, while Ida is trying to scold Deku. Now, this actually does leave quite a bit of people confused. However, as they are lining up to the exit for the run, or the 4-kilometer run, I believe it was, or 10-kilometer, I don't remember, you do have President Mike, who doesn't really understand what that boy meant. Well, it's simple, Mike. Think about it like this. The boy can regenerate from decapitation, explosions, being blown to absolute pieces and shreds, chunks, decapitation, fire, acid, you name it. So, what happens when you surround him by everyone with superpowers? Oh, I can understand it now. Of course they want to target him. Now, Deku, he is somewhat close to the front of the line. And he's actually just waiting for the announcement to begin. However, as Aizawa does begin his countdown, Midoriya actually does begin to start backing up through the crowd, kind of confusing quite a lot of people. Many different people are trying to rush through and get to the front. So why is he going to the back? Now, as soon as you do hear begin, Midoriya immediately throws his right hand upwards and begins by throwing himself up into the air, completely doing a one-arm plank by forcing his right arm to hold him up as if he's doing a pull-up, placing his left arm over his bicep, and pulling his body and everything into his abs. Then, completely using Hunter's Fest. As soon as he does that, everyone does begin to try and move forwards, some people falling over in the tunnel. Meanwhile, you do have everybody who is at the front of the line, aka people like Bakugo, Momo, Kirishima, Mina, Todoroki, and Ida. They were able to at least begin to move out of Midoriya's radius. And whenever they began to slow down more, as Midoriya began to increase his uptake in power, they were able to get out of his range. Midoriya then actually just dropped from the roof and began to run out of the tunnel. As soon as he ran out of the tunnel, you do actually have quite a lot of people. The camera zooming in on Midoriya to show the increase in muscle mass. Whoa! Aizawa, is that what you were talking about? Yep. Anyways, just watch what happens now. Now, with that, you have Ida, who is running at roughly about 35 to 40% of One for All with his body hardened. And he's just trying to run as fast as he can. Crap. I could go a lot more, but I don't know how much of the power he took. Now, Kirishima's just trying to stay on his feet. He already does feel weakened from that initial, attack basically. And you do have Ida, who he was able to get away faster. So he's at least going a good 90 miles to roughly 87. And you do have Bakugo, who he is trying to blast his arms outwards and basically keep them behind him. However, the force of his explosions keep making his arms lock out. And that's not really doing very good for the amount of stress he's putting on them. And you do have Momo, who herself has been trying to run, but she is at least trying to create something that can help her. Now, she actually does do something that many people would actually be confused by. She began to just do something by stopping, creating a metal plank, and then setting it down, before beginning to create more things. A lot of people did actually begin to go past her. However, this is whenever she actually did finish her creation, and she was actually able to zoom past many different people as they were running. Her quickly creating an electric scooter from a blueprint she had. Now, as she is actually zooming past quite a lot of them, she's overclocking the battery. Basically meaning that it's going to burn out a lot faster, but you're going to have a hell of a lot more speed on those things. Which, by the way, to anyone who thinks overclocking a battery is good, it's not. It is very dangerous. And those things might explode. Anyways, that's a bit of information you need to know. Yeah. Anyways. While that is all going on, you do have Midoriya himself, who is running through and actually having a bit of fun. As soon as he got to the giant robot portion, he was just messing around with them. Todoroki did actually freeze over a robot and make it go smashing over onto his side. However, Midoriya, he actually did begin to just start running up one of their arms, before just punching a giant hole through its head, and using the explosion to catapult himself out forwards, as he gets sent flying through the air with massive amounts of burns and shrapnel all throughout his body, along with actually what seems to be a giant metal pipe sticking out through his torso, and going through the back of his skull. Now, this actually was a bit weird, since you did have Midoriya who actually grabbed the pipe that was right next to his spine, and at least piercing into the back of his head, as he did actually just rip it out backwards, and it actually did move up through his torso, before he grabbed the piece with his other arm and just ripped it out straight front, surprising quite a lot of people. However, since there was no real massive, shock about it for him, he just kept running. Whenever the camera came back to him, his wounds were instantly healed, surprising quite a lot of pros. This kid's quirk really is insane. Now, whenever everyone else does actually also get to the area for the walking thing, Momo has to abandon the scooter. Since if she tries to carry it across, it's going to take her too much time. Now, Kirishima is able to get across it first. Then you do have Ida, who is trying his best, Todoroki with his ice bridges, and then Midoriya, who is actually able to get catapulted at least a third of the way through, Before, whenever he did land, he immediately smashed onto his legs. Or, at least let's just say he actually did turn his body into a ball. Whenever he landed, he shattered his arms, or the bones in his arms, on impact and actually bounced off the ground. As soon as it did happen, he was able to actually get his balance about him and reach out, being able to use his quirk to actually swing on one of the ropes, before just being able to do that up until he was able to get to the other side. Now, a lot of people do find what this kid's doing to be absolutely crazy. And it is. Everyone is trying their best. And then there is the minefield. Todoroki and Bakugo, they are actually fighting. And Todoroki just keeps trying to blast out ice walls behind him. Meanwhile, Bakugo is focusing on trying to go over them. And you do have Kirishima. Whenever he did actually get across, he actually did get frozen. And he was kind of stuck for a second. However, after unhardening his body and increasing one for all for a second, before quickly just trying to twitch his finger, ice began to shatter. Before he was able to just harden his hand and his entire arm and quickly move it upwards, with enough momentum. Now, as that does happen, this is whenever Bakugo and Todoroki they're still fighting, until Kirishima does actually zoom past them. Todoroki then quickly trying to aim out in his direction, trying to blast out ice with his left arm, before something grabs his wrist and immediately throws it back to his side, his entire palm facing Bakugo, and quickly beginning to encase him in ice. Before Midoriya does actually come running past him and immediately just turn and smack him directly across the gut, sending Todoroki backwards onto his knees. Before Midoriya just begins to keep running and immediately just go through the minefields, stepping on every landmine that he can to basically ensure no counterattack. Now, as he's doing that, Midoriya does actually step on at least 3 and have them explode directly underneath his feet, before you actually do begin to see wear and tear on the bottom portion of his outfit. Now, everything below the kneecaps have basically either been scorched off or burned off. And you can actually see some small bloodstains and cuts from pieces of metal on Midoriya's legs at the moment, as he continues to run. Now, Midoriya is able to actually catch up with Kirishima, being able to get Kirishima within his stealing range, beginning by draining the power from him and swiftly catching up. As soon as he does, he's able to grab Kirishima by his leg with his quirk and basically actually just fling him up into the air, before running past him. As soon as that did happen, Kirishima, he is actually up in the air, being able to see behind him. Crap. Shit, I was supposed to win. Okay, just remember what All Might taught you. Him bringing both of his hands up, and flicking his fingers with 40%, immediately sending him flying backwards, directly the opposite direction, into the arena. Midoriya being able to cross the finish line just as Kirishima smashes into his back and basically breaks his spine. As soon as that does happen, Kirishima actually does get up from the crater that him and Midoriya just made. Dude, are you alright? Oh, okay, you'll be fine. But do you need some help? Much appreciated. Kirishima helping him up onto his feet. As you have Bakugo, who is still currently encased in ice. He gets passed by Ida, and Ida gets third. Todoroki and Bakugo, I want to say they'd at least tie for fifth, and then you do have Momo. Now, currently Momo is the highest ranking female to have won any sporting event at the current time. Now, along with that, we do have the next event, with Midnight explaining that what is currently going to be happening is that since Izuku Midoriya did win the, well, on-foot race by a hair, that he is actually going to have 10 million points on his head. That number immediately surprising quite a lot of the people. And you do have Kirishima, who is very thankful that he actually only came in second place. Oh, sorry, man. Okay, well, I'm sure you can handle it. I'll see you in the finals. Okay. By the way, you still owe me for breaking my back. Oh, come on, man. I knew you'd heal from it. Yeah, but it was unexpected, especially with a mouthful of dirt. Oh, come on, I already apologized for that. Oh, it's fine. I'll just break your jaw when we get in the finals. Come on, man, don't even make jokes like that. Alright then, see you there. Now, with that, quite a lot of people do actually begin to start forming their teams. Meanwhile, you do have the girls, who are all at least beginning to try and talk. And it actually does seem to be a bit weird. Some of them are actually being talked to try and be on different people's teams. Meanwhile, you do have Midoriya. A few of the girls do actually come up and try to explain that they can't be on his team. Oh no, I get it. Trust me. It's fine, besides. Midoriya immediately looking down and noticing Mina's hands, before at least bringing them up to see them. Mina. Midoriya grabbing them and actually inspecting them. What happened to your fingertips? Oh, this. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. Really? Because to me, it looks like those are scars. Or at least wounds. Jeez. Using your acid like that to slide. Did you think you were as fast as Todoroki? Huh? Well, kind of. Your acid resistance needs to have some training. But your speed isn't equal to his. Because you were spraying out such large amounts of acid, you damaged your hands. Here. Midoriya bringing his thumb up to his wrist, and actually letting out quite a small bit of blood, putting it into the palm of his hand, before at least giving it to Mina. He has her dip her hand, or at least one of her fingers, in the blood. He wants to see if direct contact with the wound would actually help. Sure enough, her finger does begin to actually heal, along with the one next to it. Now, Midoriya basically heals her fingertips, and then tells her that should be fine. For right now. Her swiftly actually shaking them off, and clenching her fingers together. That feels a whole lot better. And she actually does thank Midoriya. Before Ochako does actually try and talk with him. Now, before they can even continue their conversation, you do have Hatsume, who basically comes barreling forward out of nowhere. Hey, you're that Midoriya guy, right? The one that was helping me with my inventions the other week? Oh, hey Hatsume. Hi! So, you have 10 million points in your head, correct? Yeah? Why? Great! So that means that all the eyes will be on you. Listen, I need some help testing out another one of my babies for the sports festival. Okay, which one is it? Well, actually, that's just it. I am hoping that you can help me. After all the fine-tuning with all my other babies and inventions, I was able to actually perfect it, I think. Her basically telling Midoriya that with this jetpack, they could actually get quite a lot of things done. And that if he decides to actually have her on his team, he can use it. Alright, interesting. Now, that's whenever you do have, at least, Ochako. Kind of confused as to who this girl is, especially since she has a very boisterous personality. That was a joke. Anyways, now, with that, she actually does decide that probably being on Midoriya's team might be for the best. However, there is a problem. They need one more person. So, who exactly should that be? Now, Midoriya, he does actually try and see if anyone else from Class 1A would want to team up with him. Sadly, no. No, no, and no. Until you do actually have Toga. Now, this is actually quite interesting. Midoriya's team consists of him, Mei, Ochako, and Toga. So, this is actually going to be very interesting. And the cavalry battle does begin. This being whenever Toga does actually show off that she can do something a bit different. Whenever they do actually say begin, she actually does have one little trick up her sleeve. She does actually immediately begin to try and help out, saying that if she can get a little bit of blood, she thinks that she might be able to do that certain thing again. What thing? I think I've done it before. At least on accident. You see, I was able to test out an ability I have. I think I can copy quirks. That sounds weird. Right? Either way, if we can get in close to somebody, then we can actually do this. Now, with that, the cavalry battle officially begins. Midoriya's team almost immediately getting swarmed. Meanwhile, Midoriya, he cannot use Hunter's Fest. So they do the one thing that they can do. All of them use the zero gravity quirk and go airborne, as they do blast off up into the air. Now, as that does happen, everybody is trying to actually get up to them, or at least trying to fire off with their quirks to try and actually tether them back to the ground. That does not work out very well. And you do actually have Ochako, who this isn't enough stress on her quirk. In fact, this is actually relatively light. She's been training a lot more intensely, and she's not going to give up just because a little bit of weight is hurting her head and her stomach. Now, with that, Midoriya's team does stay up in the air for a significant amount of time. And the only teams that are able to try and even attempt to reach them are Bakugo's team and Todoroki's team. They do try and get airborne. However, Bakugo does actually launch off and try to attack. As soon as he does actually get up into the air, you do have Midoriya, who basically uses his quirk as a tether, and connecting himself to, let's say, Toga's left arm, he's able to actually somewhat jump towards Bakugo. As soon as him and Bakugo do actually meet in the air, Midoriya is able to actually swiftly just kick him in the face as hard as he can. Not only almost knocking Bakugo completely unconscious, but sending him flying backwards. And Midoriya basically does have to try and swing back up round, or at least get pulled in by his teammates. And Todoroki, who tries to blast up a wall of ice, or at least a ramp of it, has to make a whole complicated thing. Basically, an ice staircase. Once his team does get high enough, you do have Ida, trying to activate Reciprocal Burst and actually try and take them down. Ochako releasing her quirk and allowing them all to fall. Hatsume activating her own little flying gadget and at least slowing them down a little bit. Ochako beginning by tapping back on Otoga's arm and actually trying to tap onto Midoriya. Now, with that, the zero gravity is a good amount. However, Mei's weight is pulling them down and out of the way of the out of control flying team, who have to try and course correct with Sero's tape. Now, with that being said, I do believe that would be around the ending point. Most of the teams, they would either be fighting each other or trying to target Midoriya. However, Midoriya's team would try and remain airborne for a long period of time, as long as they can without being attacked. Now, with that being said, after that is all over, everyone does actually gather around, and it is announced that a lot of different teams, they all did very well. However, certain ones are being eliminated. This being where you do at least have a few of the girls get out. And sadly, they've lost their chance at claiming Midoriya. However, they do congratulate him. Midoriya basically being swarmed around by all these girls. A lot of people actually looking in his direction. And you actually do have Mineta, who is very pissed. Dang it. Him and Osui were just on a team, and now she's basically eating out of this guy's hand? What is this? What did this guy do to deserve all this fame, all this glory, all these beautiful girls? Now, with that, you also do have Deanne, who basically just looks in Minetta's direction before firing off a beam. Mineta being struck by it and left kind of confused. Huh? What was that? For a second there, I thought I actually had a shred of decency. Anyways, now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.